All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Enlightened Conversations. Excited for tonight here, my time Thursday, but it is already Friday where our guest is. She is in Thailand. I will not try to repronounce the city, which I just wrote down for personal reasons because I want to explore this part of the world, but I will not pronounce it. But she is in Thailand. I can pronounce that just fine. And we have Jenn Agostini, who is a yoga and meditation teacher and all-around awesome human. I discovered her Instagram page just not too long ago, maybe a week or two ago, and saw the energy she was sharing with her audience and immediately asked her if she wanted to have a fun conversation with me, and that is what we are going to do today. So without further ado, I want to introduce you guys to Jenn, and if you could share with the audience so they're more familiar with you, or for those that already know Jenn, a reminder of just who you are, what you do, why you do it, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, wow, what a broad question. So thank you, Noel, for asking me to spend the time with you and create this space together. I'm really stoked. From when you left the first message, my partner was actually in the room when we were listening to your voice, and then Flo was like, "Wow, that guy has such a good energy," and I know. So I'm stoked to be here with you. And so I am a yoga and meditation teacher. I have been doing this for 4 years now, although I've been a practitioner for about 12. But I wasn't really into the truth of yoga and meditation until I think maybe 7 or so years ago. And what I mean by the truth of yoga meditation, I mean more than just movement or just as a way to kind of de-stress myself, which is why I originally was pulled into it. And then when I started to learn more from traditional teachers, I had no idea for my first 5 years of practicing that it originated from India. And then I started to feel like, wait, what? This was actually created for Indian men that typically live right in the heart of India. And that kind of blew my mind. And then I was like, wait. Yoga is not just about being flexible and wearing Lululemon. I think I was in this ignorant mindset of Lululemon created yoga or something. And so once I started to become more and more exposed to what yoga and meditation really is, it gave me this opportunity to dive so deep into the more traditional teachings and stuff, which have then created such a beautiful, expansive container for me, and to actually be able to bring this into not only my life on a daily, but now I do coaching and mentoring. It's kind of a mix between the two, where I really reach from yoga philosophy and bring it into the real world. And it's just okay, so how can we apply some of these most ancient and traditional teachings to the way we live our life now? Because it's something that a lot of us are kind of forgetting about or missing out on, and some of these teachings have been around for millenniums and some of the most oldest teachings in the entire world. So it's definitely something that it's, in my opinion, it's a bad idea to bypass them, the first rule of yoga is essentially be kind, called ahimsa, nonviolence, and it's but so many of us forget that, to be kind. So that's a summary, I guess.
I love it. You inspired me with the first sentence that you said, and it was a compliment to me and told me everything I needed to know about your partner. First, is his name Flo? Is that his nickname? That's short? That already tells me everything that I need to know. But the fact that he complimented me and my energy, just a reminder for everybody out there listening, we can only see in others in the moment what is presently vibrating in us. So if we find ourselves complimenting someone else on their energy, that just means that your energy is in a vibe where you can recognize that in another. Also, side note, if you're criticizing or judging or slandering someone in that moment, that's what's vibrating in you. So also a great reminder, indicator of what your vibe is in the moment. So tell Flo I said I appreciate, and awesome If that's on his birth certificate, awesome. But regardless of what that's short for, I like it. In the flow.
That's so funny. It's short for Florian, so a little less cool, but.
I only compliments reflecting back. I appreciate that, and it's really interesting how you were describing yoga, because I, like many others, at one point thought that yoga was just about stretching really good. Like I was like, I'm not very flexible, and this is something that could help me be flexible, I guess. And of course, over the years, have learned that it goes much deeper than that, and it always has a really good feel. It leaves a really good feeling with me, because I've met lots of people that really was the opening to their spiritual practice, or their awakening, or the light bulb coming back on. Being able to, as a form of meditation, and wasn't where I wouldn't have been able to say that the first rule of yoga is be kind. I like that. That's a cool awareness that now I'll be able to reshare. So I love that, like for you, because anytime I'm having these conversations, like we're vibing in this really cool place where the intention is to empower the audience, and to share anything that flows out. I know all of us come into this life as unconditional loving little babies, and even though we're seeing us here as evolved souls, and that will always be evolving, for all of us, for our whole experience here. For a lot of us, I know for me for sure, but curious with your journey, for a lot of us, like as we become like small children, and we start looking around and comparing ourselves and questioning, are we enough? And why does that kid like have all the answers in class and I don't? Or why are they good in sports? Or why are they this or that? Like we ask, are we like enough or worthy? And then the light bulb has to re-come on, and I just hope that it does sooner than later for all of us, so that we can get back to being who we all truly are. How did your journey? How did your journey flow? No pun intended. When it comes to, I use that word a lot, so it's just going to be coming out, I'm sure. But
Me too. Yeah, I actually want to backspace for a second to what you said about, like what we are seeing on our outer world is like a vibration of and a perception of what is actually being cultivated within ourselves. So true, and also such a solid reminder to like something I totally need to hear right now, to be honest. Like, don't take anything personally. One of like the 4 agreements from Johnny Del Roots, and because everything is a projection that happens from within, and even if whether it be something positive or something negative. That being said, I mean, like, douchey people are douchey people, and really cool, beautiful people are really cool, beautiful people. So at the same time, like, we can kind of sometimes tell the difference. However, I don't think anyone is like innately bad anyways, so I'll just conditioning, but that's a total separate conversation.
I have a side note on that, but I'm gonna let you finish, because I have a side. Go ahead.
Okay. So your question, what was your question?
No, this was you were expanding on what I was saying, but the question was, how did you go from unconditional loving little baby to where you are now? Was there any challenge in between, or was it just like a beautiful journey of just like you never forgot who you truly were and just evolved, beautifully over the years?
So many challenges. I've actually like lived a number of different lives in this life. The greatest contrast was like if you talked to me maybe 7 or 8 years ago, and you said abundance, I think I would have been like, what's that? At the time I was working in advertising in downtown Toronto, working with a client that was, I don't want to like, say what the client was, but it was just like a health and beauty product, and they, so I was really participating in like, how do we manipulate the world, and how do we make people think that they're not good enough so that they'll buy this product, kind of thing. And the more that I was like exploring, because that's also around the time that I started to get really into like the traditional teachings of yoga, and so the more that I was exploring that, the more that I was in a space of recognizing that this isn't like really for me anymore. I'm not here to create like greater dis-ease for people. I'm here to actually create greater ease for people. I'm here to somehow create greater freedom for people. And I had this, like, I remember massive realization after going on a trip with my best friend in to Europe. We went on like a 3-week crazy journey, and I came back and I was again sitting in my office, and in this like highly air conditioned office. I was like 21, and then I was like, what the fuck am I doing right now? Like I'm have literally my whole life ahead of me, and I'm just sitting in this like cold enclosed office with like huge windows, but you can't actually open any of them, and all of the views are like buildings, and it's just like was by no means anything that resonated with me. And I think that was like one of the biggest pivotal moments. And then I remember just having this evening that night, and I worked at a bar at the same time, and one of my best friends, Lily, she and I were talking about just like, I was like, dude, I can't keep doing this. Like, I cannot just be, I love Toronto, I'm from Toronto, it's awesome, but I can't just be living here my entire life and doing this. Like, this is not good for me. And then she just said, you should just like move to Tofino and figure it all out after that. And Tofino is this like little surf town in the west coast of Canada, Vancouver Island. And I literally within 2 minutes was like, yeah, I'm doing it. And she was kind of shocked about like my abrupt like going for it. But that was a huge pivotal moment for me. And then from that, I went years, like probably until I really actually started teaching yoga, and even a little bit afterwards. I went like a few years being like, what is my purpose? What am I meant to be doing right now? What is it that really fills my heart up? And I was instead moving from a place of, I'm assuming that it's this thing, I'm assuming that it's to, work in media, to actually, no, I have something that's a lot deeper, that's like really within my heart, and I just want to spend time getting to know myself more before I actually bring that purpose to life, because I don't even know what it is right now. And then so I spent like years of just being like lost, conversations, in tears, like in beautiful places of the world at the same time. Like I lived in like incredible places like in Australia and Asia and stuff, but still would be like on the beach in one of the most amazing places, thinking to myself, what am I actually like meant to be doing, and bringing myself into the ground, thinking about it. And it wasn't until I decided, like after a conversation with a friend of mine called Jesse, I should actually reach out to him and tell him this. He was pretty much like, honestly, like if I had as much figured out at your age, because I think he's like maybe 10 years older than me, as you do, then I would be in a much different place right now. And I was like, okay, I don't really know what that means, but I've taken it as a good thing. And so then I kind of, again, it's like what you're saying, what you see in other people is kind of what you want to really see. And with what he said, I sort of saw him saying to me, just drop this need to find your purpose and just live your life, and it will come to you. And that's what I started to do. And then that's when like beautiful shit started flowing in, beautiful realizations started flowing in, like money from places that I wasn't expecting, like opportunities from places I wasn't expecting. And it's like, and all I started doing was just dropping the need to be controlling of what was happening, and allowed myself to just flow with whatever was happening, instead of being like, no, control the universe, make it turn this way, make this happen. And but that's fucking hard for humans to do, and it took a lot of tears and a lot of like craziness to get into that. Oh, and Sydney just joined too. Is the best friend that I
Flo's in the building too. Flo, we said lots of good things about you, including appreciating your name.
Yeah, Flo was in the building.
I saw. I love it. So Jen, you just inspired me so much. Like, I'm going to share something right now, because I already knew this is the beautiful thing for all of us when we understand how this reality that we're living in really works. And even as you were sharing the story with your friend, that you should definitely reach out to Jesse and share this, because I know that that will be very inspirational for him to know the impact that his advice made on you. But I already knew that that was what was coming. Like, even when you were like 30 seconds away from getting to that part, I knew it was going to have something to do with releasing the need for control. Just releasing it, period, is what allows us always to bring to us whatever it is that we desire. So many examples that I could share when it comes to this. And like, that's the beautiful thing to know about how life works for all of us. Like, we have desires, all of us, about things that we want when it comes to, you know, our health, relationships, financially, every area of life. And we know what we want right now because of all the life we've led up until today, which has given us that clear picture as far as, I really like this, I really like this, I really don't like this. And so for all of us, the same process is true, where when we can get off of the how it's going to happen, when it's going to happen, who it's going to be, if you want a relationship, all that like struggle trying to figure it out, which we all have done. And I was the gold medalist on the planet, I think, at one point, of trying to figure out all these details, which caused so much like present moment, like not feeling good, like depression and all these things. Like, it's just rough. Like, if we think about all the things that we physically manifested in our lives, how many of us can say we had all the details figured out, and before that physical manifestation, we knew, you know, where we had to go to meet this person, and we knew they were going to give us this idea, and we knew also they were going to tell us to read this book, which would help us, and watch this YouTube video, and then they were going to introduce this friend who we ended up dating. And like, none of us have this story figured out. So knowing that life is just one ongoing synchronicity, the fact that we try to figure it out is really, really silly. And when we can release it, that's when the manifestations can find us, and things start to happen rapidly in unpredictable ways, like you just described. So awesome reminder for all of us. That's 101, manifestation 101 for all of us. Like, have the desire, believe that it's happening, know that it's happening, release the how, when, where, who, release the details, and do what you can do in the moment. Like, just bring your full energy to the moment, and that's all we can do.
There's actually this, one of my teachers, her name's Laura Poole, so if anyone is listening, whether it be now or on replay, and yeah, I just feel called to, check her out, because she's absolutely amazing. And she, in one of her books, she has this picture of, there's 3 lines. I don't know if she drew the picture, I think it may have come from someone else, but there are these 3 lines of people. And in the first line, it's like the past stuff, so like, let's talk about the past. In the second line, it's present moment, and it's this like really happy person with like a present moment little billboard thing. And then in the third line, it's another one that says like future readings. And the past and the future lines are full, like there's like 10, 15, 20 people in them, and then in the center line, there's nobody there. But it's somebody being like so stoked, like, present moment, everyone, like, coming here. And it's like, wow, we forget this, like, myself included, I forget it every fucking day, but we forget this so much, and it's so shitty, because we have so much opportunity to be able to be in a space where we are feeling like good and pressureless and just being in the moment, just literally just being. And so often we don't do this. And the amount of conversations that I have with myself or with other people, the amount of angst that arises about the future, or the amount of sadness that reaches from the past. And like, I struggle with this every single day, but it's always an opportunity for growth. Like, I'm so human. I still have my shit that I need to be working through. Yes, I teach yoga and meditation, because like, it really speaks to me, and I like live in that a lot. And at the same time, like, we're all just human, like, trying to figure this shit out. And the key to a lot of this is just like what you're saying, living in the present moment. But it's one of the hardest things to do. For some fucking reason, the way that the human mind was just constructed. Why? Do you have the answer to that, Noah?
I do. I'm happy you asked. And again, this is my biggest challenge at one point in life, by far. And really, when we realize that all that there is now always, like, we're always in like this permanent moment of now. And so if we can just get to the point where like all we're bringing is like what version of Noel am I bringing to this moment here and now? What version of Jen are you bringing to this here and now? Because it's really all that we can truly control. Like, what's my vibe going to be right now? And it doesn't matter if you were in a good mood yesterday or if you're going to be in a great mood tomorrow. If right now I'm in a crap mood and I'm like arguing with people and yelling at people and just in an energy where none of us would really say that I love feeling like this, then just know that that day is going to be a rough day. Nobody's going to get home from a day like that and say, this is the most amazing day ever. Like, I met all these cool people and all these awesome synchronicities happen. No, that's the drama scene in the movie. Like, that's our life in those days where we choose to, because it is a choice where we live like that. Now, here's the good news for all of us, and great news for Jen and great news for me and for all of you guys out there. Once we become aware of this, once we are noticing that I've been really anxious about things that are happening in the future. Because there's a time in my life and in Jen's life, I'm sure, where we weren't even realizing why I've been in a crap mood all week, why it's been in such a rough month, while this year hasn't really gone that well, is because I spent most of it worrying about the future and not bringing my best version of me into this moment. I wasn't aware of it. I wasn't paying attention. It was just something that, as a human being, we get into these habits where by the time we turn 30, they've done studies now that almost 98% of our thoughts are habitual. So, we have 70,000 thoughts per day, and 98% of them, the older you get, they're going to be very similar to the ones you had yesterday. So the same things you're worried about yesterday, you'll be worried about tomorrow and the next day until you become aware of it. Now we can rewire the brain and actually catch it when we start finding ourselves being anxious. Like, oh, I already know where this is going if I keep thinking about this. And if we choose to just continue to be anxious, all good. Like, we're going to have that as part of the human experience as well. This is what sparks the desires for us to be like, okay, this has been really rough thinking about this. The last time that I just released this type of thing, all these awesome things, all these awesome synchronicities started happening, like Jen described a minute ago. So the awareness part, I always tell people, like, once we're aware, we're 99% of the way there with everything in life. The 1% is always the choice that we make in the moment, which that's going to always be an eternal choice of right now. And that's part of the human experience. None of us are going to choose to be 100% present every moment of every day for our whole lives. And we wouldn't want to be, because we need some of these challenges so that we can have the desire to go focus on whatever it is that we want while we're here.
Yeah, really. And I think, there are definitely some of my teachers in, that live in, the caves of India. There are definitely, some of the people that are really in the present moment constantly. There are also some of the people that are completely satisfied sitting in a cave meditating for their entire life. And it's kind of...
Hold on, you're frozen on. There you go. You were frozen.
At the
You're good.
same time, oh shit. Am I good now?
I think you're good. Yeah, you were frozen. You're good now.
Okay. But, most of us are living in this, I'm going to call it, it's not really a regular reality, but I'm just going to call it a regular reality. We're living in this, everyday regular reality, and, oh shit, my internet just died.
I see it. You're frozen on Zoom, and then you're live on Instagram.
Oh my god. Our internet, we, lost the password for our internet, so...
Hold on. Pause Instagram, people. We got to bring Jim back on Zoom. This is where the podcast is actually being recorded. This Instagram is just a bonus.
Oh shit. Okay, wait.
You're good.
It's because I don't know.
You just have to rejoin me on Zoom.
I think my internet. Oh, it's back. Never mind. I was gonna use your hotbar, but I'm good. Oh. Okay. Bye. I love you. Says, oh, okay.
There we go.
We're here again.
Okay, but there you go.
I'm muted. No, I'm not.
You're good.
Okay.
Sweet.
Okay, sweet. Cool. Are we good?
We're perfect.
Sid is just laughing. Of course she is. That's fine. So, yeah, real life happens. For example, right now we had to, for this moment, be present, but also think, moments in the future of, hey, how am I okay, I have to like figure out my internet. My internet's not working because we lost the password for our record. We have to call the internet people. Blah, blah, blah. Like, there are real like problems that happen. At the same time, like I could have in that moment, and I may have like 10 years ago been like so anxious and maybe like started shaking, and my heart starts racing, and I'm just like, oh my god, how do I like deal with this situation because the internet crapped out. Whereas now I'm like, this is kind of funny, and also just like technology, and like let's figure out how to change it, and the end.
I stay so playful with these type of things now.
Just like, okay.
I stay so playful with these type of things now. Like, I have a story that the universe wants all this type of information out in the world, so technology always works to our advantage. And that's been my story the whole time, and it never has caused except for one blunder by me where I just forgot to hit record. I'm like, no! But then the person was gracious enough to redo it. But other than that, that was a Noel problem. The technology was working fine, but other than that, we've been good.
Yeah, and maybe the second conversation was like needed to happen. You know,
It's
sure
true.
It wasn't identical to the first.
There was things that we both experienced in life, which will always be the case for all of us. Like, even if we had this conversation a week later, we have another week of life experience, both of us, which could have caused some additional like clarity and life lessons, or who knows, stories that would be shared. But I always say it's happening in perfect timing, and I already will affirm this is our first co-creation, and there will be more. So this is perfect timing for this conversation.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, like Alexia just said actually on Instagram here, like we stay connected aside from Wi-Fi, and it's so, I don't know if this is exactly what you're referring to, Alexia, but what I'm taking from it is when we're of course like in real life connection and close to each other physically, but also like there's some sort of ethereal connection that is created, and I can't remember where I heard this, so unfortunately I can't like cite it properly, but supposedly like if it's something like 15% of the world's consciousness starts to rise, then no matter if the people are together separately, it doesn't matter at all, then the whole rest of the world is like very quickly following it. And which is absolutely incredible, because it's like energetically our connection through like our hearts can cause like this universal rise in consciousness, this universal rise in like bliss or enlightenment or whatever you really want to call it. And it can have like such profound effects on our ability like to connect and stuff. If
Absolutely.
you are present, engaged in a subject or conceptual space. Yeah, totally. That's true too. Like, however, at the same time, I find like especially in these times, like having Wi-Fi and having our ability to connect like virtually has been like really beautiful and profound. But of course, nothing is like a physical touch. I mean, this would be completely, I feel like even more profound and beautiful if we were actually like you and I, Noelle, in the same space right now. We could like give each other a hug and like actually be able to connect in that way too.
It'd be even more playful, even more laughing and joking, and playful. That's just how I am, anyways. And I think you can feel that from here, but it would just be more like playful than it even is, because just the little silly things like, we wouldn't really be dealing with Wi-Fi if we were streaming it, for sure. What you reminded me of, Jen, right there, when you were talking about the 15% of humanity that, became conscious and it's spreading, there's a really cool study. I don't know if you've heard this before, or if you guys out there have heard this, where I don't know what island it was in the world, but there was an island. There were monkeys that were trying to, I think they were trying to like clean, like they had like potatoes. They had a bunch of potatoes or something, and they were eating, and there was all this sand on it, and like they weren't enjoying it, obviously, because nobody likes to eat sand. And one monkey like decided that there was this like little place where there was enough water to like clean off the potato. And I'm probably butchering some of the small details of the story, but the overall principle you guys will grasp. And so one monkey started to do it, and he was able to eat the potato, and then he taught it to another monkey. And then by the time the monkeys started teaching it to each other, and it got to like the 100th monkey, then all of a sudden monkeys and like in other parts of the world started catching on, and like they all had this new skill of how to like clean their food and like do all this stuff. So they didn't even need to like physically teach the ones from other islands that they couldn't get to, but it was like they're all connected like consciously, like energetically. And that's what, whenever you hear like your energy and your vibe can affect more than just like the people in your immediate space. Like there's just so much more going on than we ever really know. And when we say we're all connected, we're all one, like there is a global consciousness, like a collective consciousness that all of us, you know, add to and contribute to. And so when you're in a good vibe and you're sharing your light with other human beings, whether it be on the internet or in person, just know that you're contributing to all that is and what everything that, you know, we're creating together.
Yeah, totally. And it's like our our ability to like teach just kind of mindfully as well, and just like leading by example, leading by embodiment. And if you know, like these monkeys are like doing this like new thing, and they're not necessarily being like, okay, step one, you know, like peel this potato or whatever it may be, but they're like doing it, and then it's being learned through that. And also like reflecting on what you were saying, like more energetically speaking, like how many times have you thought of somebody that's on the other side of the world? Like for example, I don't know if Sid's still here, but I like mentioned Sid, I think like 5 minutes before she came on. And or like when you think about a friend and then that friend texts you or calls you, or it happens the other way, or you call someone and they're like, well, I was just thinking about you. And it's like, if we're connected on that level, then imagine how many other like thought processes and just like heartfelt like sensations are also being connected, and it can create like such profound like shifts in humanity if we actually allow ourselves to like really recognize that and follow that. And yes, it's still here. Peace and love, baby.
Where's Sydney at in the world? Is she out there with you, Thailand?
She's no, unfortunately, she's not. She's in Toronto, or like 3 hours outside.
You're from Canada? I didn't even ask you where you're originally from.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Everyone thinks I'm American, which is cool.
You sound American. You don't have the out and about. I haven't heard that. That's what I normally catch. That's what throws. That's what gives you away, you Canadians. That those words you say like out and about. Like with the,
Yeah.
I haven't heard that yet. So let me ask you. Oh, continue if you were continuing a thought. I have a question for you that I'm super curious about.
Go.
Okay,
Ask your question.
so
All right.
I know that just because I know how valuable it is. Like when we started the conversation with yoga and like how beneficial it can be for people that may not have that as a part of their practice yet. What advice would you give for people as far as like how to start or where to start or just anything that you feel would be beneficial for someone that's like, yeah, I could use like another practice that would be, you know, good for my health, you know, physically, mentally, spiritually. Like that's what I consider yoga is like a full body, mind, spirit practice. So what advice would you give?
So for the whole practice, I would say start with meditation. Start with meditation. Start with meditation. Start with meditation. And people are like, meditation is lame because like I'm not, you know, everyone's obsessed with losing weight. I'm just like, okay, can we just like settle down and think that if our minds are in a healthy space, then it's going to make the rest of our bodies be in a healthy space. And I used to be the same. I used to be like, I only do power flow classes and I just want to sweat and blah blah blah. But yeah, start with meditation. I'm a huge proponent for this is of course like from my experience. So if there are other meditations that work for you guys out there or Noelle that work for you, then please take that on. Like don't take what I'm saying as this is the only way. This is literally just from my experience. But so I practice Vedic meditation, and there is, which can be a little bit of a journey to try to find a teacher, just because there's not many of them. They typically are in, I believe, like Los Angeles, India, or there's heaps of them in Australia, especially in like the Melbourne area. But when it comes to like bringing it as an everyday practice, if you're not in one of these places, there is an amazing app. It's called One Giant Mind, this isn't like, I'm not like sponsoring anything, by the way. Like, this is.
She was just the director of this. It's so synchronistic. The director of this company was on my podcast like a couple days ago, like literally. Jen Capo. Jennifer Capo. I'm speaking at her event tomorrow night. I'm speaking on sound and story. I'm one of the speakers tomorrow night. So nice synchronicity there.
Yeah, I know Jen Capo. Yeah, so I'm doing the teacher training right now for One Time Mind. And because I've been One Time Mind meditation is like a derivative of Vedic meditation. Vedic meditation has been around for like millenniums. One Time Mind was developed in 2011 to basically like get something that could be accessible to everybody, and people don't necessarily have to go around like looking through teachers and stuff. And from my experience, I would say if you love it, if you do this meditation, then go into then start to go into maybe a deeper root as well, like Vedic meditation or transcendental meditation and stuff. But this meditation, without like making this a total discourse on a specific meditation, is just practicing being in the state of being. I'm sure that you learned a lot about this when you had this conversation with Jenn, but with other Jenn. But when I started this meditation, it created such profound shifts for me. As far as like, I think the greatest one is that I was really able to tell the difference between when my mind was speaking, ego, personality, shadows, whatever you want to call it, and when my heart was speaking. And I was able to not only notice the difference, but if I was stuck up here, I was able to be like, okay, drop down. And sometimes it was easier than others, and then I was able to like speak and operate from a heart space. And that is absolutely incredible to be able to have that like technique so that you're able to do that. So I would suggest meditation for one thing, particularly this one because it's freaking amazing. And like diving into yoga philosophy a little bit. And it can be challenging to just go online and type in like yoga philosophy. I just have a program coming out for anyone that's wondering that dives deep into some of the basics of yoga philosophy and really slowly integrating these different ways of living into our life. Like I mentioned before, the first one being ahimsa. The direct translation is nonviolence, but essentially it means be kind. And really embodying this kindness, compassionate, and loving being, so that you can then move forward with that. And knowing that this is always the first rule of yoga in everything that we do. So if you're listening or if you're watching, and you want to create some sort of profound shift for you, create some sort of little affirmation or mantra or just some sort of reminder of being a kind, compassionate, and loving being, so that in moments of just feeling uneasy or feeling anxious about the present or a little bit depressed or sad about the past, bringing yourself into the future, bringing yourself into the present moment, and then just be like, okay, recognizing how can I operate right now from this kind, compassionate, and loving being that I innately am. Take a deep breath. Okay, maybe I can start by, saying nicer things to myself, because what's super fucked up is that we can so often say such detrimentally hurtful things to ourselves just inside of our mind through this like internal dialogue. And it's like if somebody spoke to our best friends that way, or our partners that way, or our mothers that way, we would probably want to kill them. And we are here talking these things inside of our minds openly, and it's like, give yourself a break, because you're only human, I'm also like talking to myself as I say this, of course.
Reminder for all of us.
Because it's just like, So in short, if you want to like dive into this kind of like whole spectrum of yoga, like enlightenment kind of thing, find a teacher that cares really about the practice itself and as a lifestyle, not just getting fit or whatever it may be, and meditate every single day, because to be honest, it's not going to make a difference for you if you meditate once. It's like if you eat real shit food and then you're like, okay, I'm going to be healthy and I'm going to eat one healthy meal a week. this is not going to make any sort of difference on your health and vitality if you eat one healthy meal a week. Same with meditation. It's going to make a bit of a shift for sure, but the really profound differences is when it happens every single day. As a side note, or maybe we want to answer this later, but what is it that what event are you speaking at with Jenn, or what's happening? I want to know.
All you guys should go to my story and go to that event because she has 3 days of, it's called Story and Sound, where it's combined like people, like musical performances, as well as people from around the world sharing their stories. What Jenn is focused on right now with that is pretty cool. Just knowing how our stories really connect us all, where we could be in a room of people and not know anybody. And, if we start like sharing stories with each other as far as just life experience, like we'll be able to have those connecting points with all of us. So I'm going to share my story, how I went from thinking that I was going to be a professional athlete my whole life, hurting myself, which caused lots of depression in my early 20s and had zero awareness of anything that we're talking about here at this point. And just how that evolved into light bulb coming back on and then practice from there, years of practice, which for all of us, that's the case. Like we have, these light bulb moments. And if you guys are attracted to listening to information like this, podcast like this, obviously you're open to new awareness, to new consciousness, which I'm so happy for every human being on the planet that is open, because then it's a forever thing. It's always we'll become aware of the next thing that we need to help us on our journey. And, I'll share one thing with you guys that Jenn just inspired me to share. That'll be super useful. But you guys go to my story, and there's a swipe up so you guys can join. It's a free online event. It's for the next 3 days. There's tons of cool stuff. I'm speaking tomorrow at 8:10 Eastern times, which doesn't mean anything to you guys in Thailand, but like an hour before this started tomorrow. So if you want to get up at 7 a.m., then you guys can hear me speak, which unlikely. So catch the replay. But you inspired me. Super important what you were just sharing. Like when you describe meditating and just realizing how you could go from in your head saying not so nice things and dropping down into your heart. And a lot of things that you described when you were describing everything that you were just sharing, you were describing raising our frequency in the moment. Like when we're in our head saying like really crap things to ourselves or anxious about something and just not in the present moment, and we drop down into our heart and become present. Like if we were, because in 2020 and beyond, we can actually measure energy and frequency in the moment. Like there's science. I've been to events where I've seen the energy measure from my brain, from my heart, like in a whole room. Like they can literally measure the frequency like every moment by moment, like scientifically. And so what you just described when you were mentioning and you were describing that, I saw your frequency rising because of the practice of what you were doing, coming from here down into here. Like we were looking at your frequency in those moments on a machine, you'd see it rise. And what happens from there, the thoughts, because, instead of like beating yourself up, the thoughts that always come into our mind are always going to be an exact match to the frequency that we're in the moment. Nobody can ever say that you've been like depressed and had the most blissful thoughts going on in your head at the same time. Never happened for you. And vice versa. Like you'll never be like super happy and enjoying life and have these like mean, angry, like rageful thoughts. Like it won't happen. So, and it's always in the moment. So when you know that you're, if you're feeling good, if you're at peace, if you're, if you know that you're like in a good mood, you can trust the things that are going to pop into your mind, out of your mouth. And if you know that you've just been a little bit off, don't make yourself wrong for it. It's part of the human experience. But I highly recommend not talking to anyone out there as far as like, if you're upset or angry, like that's not the time to go call your friend or family member or your coworker, and speak your mind to them. Like I've been meaning to call them about this, and like I'm going to give them a piece of my mind right now. You're going to be apologizing for what you say most likely later. So if you can be mindful of that, you can know, okay, like this is not the time where I'm going to do the things that are going to be important conversations. And matter of fact, I don't even want to talk to myself right now. Because this is what Jim was describing. Like if your energy and your vibration in the moment, like it's just been a rough day and you're like beating yourself up, like why did I do that? All these things, which we've all done it. You can be mindful of it. You can save yourself a lot of pain in those moments because just allow yourself to return back. And this is why meditation practices and so many other things are so useful, because it allows our frequency to go back to where we're back to being who we truly are and not those versions of ourselves which are experiencing life a little bit rough in those moments. So I love that.
Yes. And we live in this, like, it just made me think of this, what you were saying, meditation and these sorts of things really help with this kind of stuff. Unfortunately, a lot of the world doesn't have the patience for it, though. And it's like we live now in this microwave culture, and this is why I don't really agree with a lot of these, like, health and beauty brands and whatever that are like, lose 10 pounds in 3 days, or I don't really know what they say, or like, lose all your wrinkles by using this product, or attract all the men if you use this mascara. And it's just like, this is, first of all, like, brainwashing in the world, and second, into multiple things, being like, you need this in order to, like, kind of win at life, and secondly, like, this is a quick fix for you, and quick fixes are possible, and they'll last forever. And of course, like, I mean, like, the whole world doesn't believe this, but a lot of people do. And oh wait, am I frozen on Instagram again?
Yeah, it's you. For a second, you are. It'll probably pop back. I can still hear you for. Oh, there you go. All right, you're good now.
Perfect. So yeah, when we are expecting to have, like, crazy shifts and changes happen in, like, just a matter of days, like, they might work. Like, I'm not saying that these things are like that. Like, I think that some of these, like, quick fixes can be good for kind of launching ourselves into, like, a solid space. Like, people do fasting, or people do, like, different detoxes and cleanses and whatever. I don't have that much experience with this stuff, and I know it can put us in, like, a good space to then maybe continue, but then to continue moving in a way where we're not expecting a super quick fix. And the reason, like, I'm sure that Jenn Capo talked to you a lot about this, but, like, the reason why I'm such a advocate for this style of meditation is because it will create, like, profound shifts for people in, like, a week, and never mind what happens in a month. And I've introduced, like, so many clients, students, and friends to this meditation, and it's one of the only meditations that a lot of these people have been able to stick to, myself included. It's the only meditation I, like, haven't, stuck to, and then 2 months later been like, okay, I'm sick of it, I want to do another thing, or I want to do another practice, or whatever. And it's like, if we find a practice that really works well for us, that we're willing to stick to, that's when some magic can happen. And that's when we can really, like, begin to come into a space of recognizing, like, okay, no, we don't live in a microwave culture, but if we do this slowly, the cultivation of what we've begun to brought in stays with us for a long period of time.
I love it. And notice out there, and Jenn reminded all of us that it's called a practice. And everything that we've ever practiced, I mean, unless you're practicing something the completely wrong way, which in meditation, good news, there is no wrong way to meditate. So anything that we practice at, for the most part, we're going to get better and better and better at, and it's going to become more of a thing that, yeah, I can meditate. When, years ago, I was one of the ones that were saying, no, meditation is not for me. Like, I can't sit still. I can't do these things. So, I've had my whole meditation journey as well, and now years later, it's just, it's a part of my routine in the morning specifically every day, because I like where my energy goes, and I like starting the day in that specific energy, so that if I do find myself, because just because you start the day in a good energy, like, I highly recommend everybody out there, like, wake up and find anything to be grateful for versus finding something to, like, complain about right off the bat or be worried about off the bat. Like, we're all going to think thought number 1, 2, and 3 of the day, of on average 70,000. So that's a really, like, before lots of momentum is gone and, like, there's all this stuff going on in your day, like, to really get in the practice of finding things to be grateful for, just the fact that you're awake or have food to eat or just anything simple, like, because that will at least start your energy there. And then I like to, like, really, like, ground it in with meditation. Like, I'll get up, I drink water, I'll use the bathroom, and then I'll meditate. And just so that I can feel my energy where I like it to be. It could be just, we call it peace or calm or whatever. It could go higher than that. Sometimes I'll have cool down lows pop into my mind during meditation. But because setting my energy right off the bat during the day, if, say, an hour into my day, like, or whenever, I start to become anxious about something or worried about something, that's just so much of a different energy than where I set it at the beginning of the day, like, right off the bat for meditation. So I'm going to notice it. And that's all that we can hope for, is to be aware of it, because in that first anxious thought, we have a choice. Do I keep letting it go to where that anxiety turns into frustration, maybe a little bit of anger, maybe a little bit of powerless, maybe a little bit depressed? Or do I say, nope, not going down that route. Like, I know where this leads, and you then have a choice to go a different direction versus just letting your thoughts kind of control you for the rest of that period of time. So this is what meditation means to me: is it gives me the best chance possible to have a really good day.
Yeah, totally, totally. And it really just it actually really spoke to me what you said about how when we bring in meditation, then it makes it so that when it comes to a point of like reacting throughout the day, or maybe a stressful situation or something arises, it gives us that space, the space between becomes larger with meditation. So then it's not like a action reaction. It's more like an action time to be like, oh, what's actually happening? Okay, now I can catch myself, so let's respond instead of reacting. Let's take a moment to be like, and then maybe if we do react, though, from, let's say, our minds, we're reacting, and then, okay, wait, I'm able to come down here. Okay, now I have to admit that I'm wrong. Oh, but I'm going to do it anyways. And it's just like sometimes it can be so hard, but it really, really, really helps with that. And I mean, the more of us, all we need is 15% of you guys to meditate. Just 15%. And the whole world's consciousness is going to be rising. And it's just like, I mean, it's happening right now. And I think we owe it a lot to COVID. I think, everything that happens in a way is a blessing. And I think COVID is, in a way, like a massive blessing, because we have been able to not only, like, take space to ourselves, but we have been literally handed so many, like, mindfulness techniques and practices and just so much more knowledge now on the power of this kind of way of living, that it's created like such an intense ripple effect. Like, I know so many people who have started meditating and practicing yoga or practicing different forms of mindfulness that have never even dipped their feet in the pools of that water before, and now it's like living every single day. So thank you, COVID, for giving us the separation to give us more like togetherness. Yeah.
I love that. Yes, there's always a blessing in everything that seems to be like even the most challenging parts of our lives. Like, without it, we wouldn't have things that we can look back and be like, oh, if all that wouldn't have happened, then I wouldn't be, here in my life. I wouldn't be doing this. So I totally resonate with that. I'm always looking for what's the universe trying to show me here. I always ask that question. Like, something seems a little off, like, or if somebody changes plans on me, reschedules an appointment, whatever. What's the universe have in store for me here? Actually, I was going to record a video about that. This is an interesting story. I was going to record a video about that exact thing. What does the universe have in store? Because someone changed an appointment yesterday, and I always reply with the same thing, that everything's happening in perfect timing, and like it's all good. Like, I don't force anything. Like, everything is in the flow, like how we started here. And so there were things like even me being able to stretch longer at the gym happened yesterday. And like I was able to do things with that hour of time that appointment was scheduled in that I was going to do later on. And so because I was able to do things then, I was able to go out to the beach an hour earlier, or maybe I might not have made it out there at all. And because I was out there, as I was recording a video, synchronistically, I met an awesome human that was just, and we joked about how cool it is, like in life, how, and this is what we were talking about earlier, when two people are in a good mood, they can meet. If one of them is not, you're not going to meet. And I mean, neither of you are going to want to talk to each other. And so synchronistically, like, she was just appreciating being out on the beach, because it took her 40 minutes, she said, to find a parking spot. And she was like way on the other side and ended up being right in the section of beach where I was. And it was just like, the synchronicities of life are so awesome when we can not allow something that maybe it didn't go the way that we wanted it to go or thought that we wanted it to go. Like, somebody cancels on you. We can get curious as far as what else is in store here. Life can be a really fun adventure. It doesn't have to be like, this is like ruin my day. Like that's a personal choice. If there's something ruin your day, it doesn't have to. You can still choose to see what the universe has in store for you if you choose to. So I don't know where that came from. You inspired something that made me say all that. But
Yeah, totally. Totally. I do agree with that. At the same time, like, it's important that we um, hold compassion for those that may have some more trouble coming into that mindset, because I was actually reminded by a friend, because I made a post however many weeks or months ago about how, our day is kind of defined by our mindset. And this is a very good friend of mine who has been through a lot of trauma. And she said, like, I agree with this to an extent, because sometimes we have this, like, trauma and conditioning and stuff that, like, makes it harder for us to be able to do that. But she said at the same time, it's still possible. It just maybe takes a little bit more attention, which is why, and I'll go back to, like, what I said before, it's so important that we allow ourselves to have a practice on a regular basis that is something that isn't in this microwave culture, so that we have the opportunity to be able to bring these practices in, so that they can create longevity for us in being in, like, this solid mindset, or easily, as you're saying, to just be like, okay, I'm just going to switch my mindset right now. Like, right before I maybe 20 minutes or so before I had this call with you, I was, like, actually in tears, because something came up with, like, some other shit, and it really just, like, put me in, like, a shit headspace. I'm very grateful to have a partner who is, like, so supportive, and so he helped me, like, and he's also a coach, so he kind of helped me, like, shift out of this mindset. And then I was like, okay, and then just, like, looking into, okay, right now, what am I actually here for? What is my purpose in this exact moment? My purpose is to make myself this coffee and prepare myself mentally, physically, emotionally, to have this, like, beautiful conversation with Noelle. And I know that this conversation, while I'm having this conversation, whatever comes up, my purpose in that moment is to talk about or listen about whatever comes up. And it can be easier and easier over time, the more that we practice, to create this mindset shift and recognize that, like, yeah, like, the universe has our back, because, and this may, like, be way deep, but because we are the universe, the universe has our back, because we have the universe, or we are the universe. If we don't have our own backs, if we don't have each other's backs, then that's when, like, detrimental shit can feel like it's happening around us. But if we're, like, supporting each other and ourselves, then, like, we're good, we're golden, everything's gonna be just fine. And if we just remember that everything's gonna be just fine, that can create, like, a world of difference in our minds.
It's so powerful what you just said. We have 18 seconds left on IGTV, but we're gonna finish this. We're gonna close on Zoom. But I love everything you just said. I just want to make sure that you guys, like, rewind and listen to what Jenn just said, because she just illustrated so beautifully, like, the practice element of. I would have never guessed that she had all that challenge. And goodbye. Let's go. I was trying to affirm. I was trying to affirm just how awesome what you just shared was, but it's okay. They got the gist over there. But no, I would have never guessed that you were having any type of challenge coming on. Like, the energy that I felt from you right off the bat was just like. Also, I'm only seeing you from the lens of being excited to, like, play with you. So, like, that's the only. I'm only willing to have these conversations from that space, because I'm just like, well, let's empower the audience and just see where it goes. And it's also fun because we've never talked before. So, and I've never talked to almost everybody that I do these with, because it's the conversation that I would want to have with you anyway. So, that's why it's like, if the people that I do get on and talk with prior to, we start talking about things where I'm like, oh my gosh, we need to record all of this, like, for the podcast. So we end up just hitting record anyway. So, like, let's just record this. So
yeah, and it's so funny because it's like I definitely just was, like, faced with something right before I went to bed last night, thinking about this thing, and I woke up this morning still thinking about this thing, because I'm not, like, a huge astrology person, but for those of you out there who are, like, I'm in Cancer, so I'm, like, hella sensitive, and plus we're in Cancer season, and if I am told something where I believe, if I'm told something where it's like, hinted at, or just straight up said, like, you might be hurting somebody right now, or harming somebody right now, or offending somebody right now, it like really makes me be like, oh my God. And I just like my heart, I can feel it like almost like well up if I am in a space where I believe that I've like hurt somebody or offended somebody or just like made someone feel anything that's not powerful and beautiful. And then so when you said in the beginning that it's so like people are what we see is a projection from within, I was like, oh my God, thank you. Because that's exactly what I need to hear.
Oh, I love that. That makes total sense. I love it.
Yeah, yeah. So thank you for that because I think that really helped actually like shift. I mean, I was already like, I'm pretty good at just being like,
You did a great job. I could typically sense if somebody has anything weighing on them, and I still would be playful with you and pull you up to where we were going to play for this conversation. But I had I didn't sense it all. Again, I'm looking at you from the lens of I'm excited to meet you and like have this fun conversation with you. So I probably wouldn't be able to see any time. This leads into perfectly, and I wanted to share this anyways. The best definition I've ever heard of compassion, and I just love to share this, is if we can maintain our vibe, like say we're in a good mood, whatever it is, and we have someone else in our life experience, whether you know them or the stranger or whatever, that isn't experiencing life in this moment as they would like to, probably, and we've all been there. Maybe they're just having a rough day. If we can maintain our vibe and not use them as a reason to like blame them, like I was in such a good mood until you came around, or all of these things. But if we can maintain our vibe and that connection with who we truly are, Jen just hinted at it, but this is who we truly are. We're all just different expressions of the same energy. Call it God, universe, love, all that is spirit, source, whatever it is that you resonate with out there. And so knowing that if we can maintain like our vibe where we know we're connected with this energy, we know we're being who we truly are when we feel good, like when we're in a good mood, we're at peace, when we're feeling love, when we're feeling happy, whatever it is. So we can maintain that even if someone around us isn't feeling their best. The words that we're going to be able to share with them, the feeling, the energy that they're going to feel from us is going to be that compassion energy. Like that's all that you can share from that space. And that being who we truly are is compassion, is love. And so, if you find yourself ever pointing at someone and saying, blaming them or condemning them, then just know in that moment that's not compassion. Like you can't be blaming or judging or be a jerk to someone or a douche, as Jen mentioned earlier. Which side note to that, that's always in the moment as well. There's no humans out there that are any one way, whether it be enlightened or happy or douche or jerk, all the time. Like nobody is, because energy is always moving. So even someone that might be a jerk 99% of their day, and if we're judging them for it, then also our energy is joining, moving towards where that jerk energy is. Like we can't have it any other way. But even that 1% for that person, they're laughing at a funny YouTube video or something. And in that moment, if you caught them and had a conversation, it actually would be pleasant unless they allowed themselves to just slip back into the jerk energy, we'll call it. So, we're all, energy's always moving around and nobody's ever one way. So I don't let people label themselves around me. It's just like sometimes is how I complete their sentence whenever they say, well, I'm an anxious person. No, sometimes you're anxious. You're not an anxious person. So,
Yeah, that's actually such a good way of putting it too. Like we're so often. Sorry, I'm just gonna close the door because sometimes like I think they're spraying the thing for mosquitoes.
go for it.
It's just like it's so toxic. Um, shit. What was I gonna say? My attention span. Oh yeah. When we like define ourselves as like an anxious person or a depressed person or whatever it may be, or even as a happy person and a joyful person, um, it's so easy for us to just be like, yeah, I'm a stressful person and define ourselves as that. But at the same time, like we're kind of like and I'm not really not trying to spiritually bypass this. Like this is like really like important is that we're manifesting that within ourselves. And for years, like when I was 18, I think I was diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder. And so, and I swear that when I was diagnosed with that, my anxiety got worse because I was like defining myself as a person that had this. And it wasn't until like however many years later that I started to like really be skeptical of like this whole system where people are just like diagnosed with
it, and it's just like, this is, like, somebody diagnosed me of this, and I spent a total of 9 hours with them answering questions. Like, it's just like, and then I was defining myself as that, and then I was like struggling with that even more. And it's like I was manifesting that even more, even more, even more within myself. And a lot of people that know me, either now or even then, if I share with them, like, yeah, when I was 18, I was like diagnosed with this thing. Um, People are like, what? Really? You? Like, but of course I get stressed. Everyone in the fucking world gets stressed. Like, everybody experiences stress. We live in a world where it is so present with us, but it's a matter of um, how we bring our attention to it, how we, like, instead of just living in that, being like, okay, how can I create a shift right now? How can I create some sort of change right now? And it can be, it can sometimes be really challenging, and sometimes it can be really easy. But the more that we do that, the more that we create these shifts, the more that we're able to kind of have a little toolbox where we're like, okay, this is how I can pull myself out of this mindset and bring myself into this other mindset, and then continue to manifest that mindset even more and more and more.
Absolutely. Such a beautiful example. And I think it humanizes us, Jen, when somebody is shocked that, you were, an anxious, diagnosed with an anxiety disorder and all these things, like when that shocks them, that's how much it shocks people when I tell them that a decade ago you would have called me a moody person. Like, you just wouldn't know when I was working in like what you described with the cubicle and like the desk job and like all that. Some days I come to work and it was just like, don't talk to Noel. Like, he's not in a good mood over there. Like, I had like a corner seat on purpose. Like, just stay away from me. Like, I'm gonna do my work and make my calls and leave me alone. And people were like, really? Like, I could never see that from you. And it was just, I hadn't had any of these aha moments that we're talking about yet at all. So I was just, life was more living me, versus me living life. I was the external world. Like, if things were going good that day that I perceived, then I'm in a good mood. If things weren't going so good in my relationships or whatever, then I wasn't in a good mood. It was all external versus really becoming mindful and doing these practices that we've been talking about and making it most important to me that my internal world is vibrating the way that I like it to vibrate. And I'm not saying anybody should or shouldn't vibrate anyway. I'm not saying that should even be important to you. Like, I don't even use the word should. Choose what you want. I just want you to be aware of it so that it is a choice, and then you choose whatever is best for you. For me, I don't hold anything back saying that it's the most important thing. It's the only thing that matters to me is what's my vibe right now in the moment. And because that's been a practice for me for so long, it just, you get into this like default space of where it's just like, I want to be in a good mood. Like, I'll be outside and it's just like, if I could use this flower or this bird or anything as an excuse to feel even better than I feel right now, I'll use it. I commented, I don't know if we were already recording, but I heard the nature in the background for Jenn. Just another excuse for me to feel even better because I hear like the little birds chirping. Like, I'm always looking for a way to let my frequency go up. It's what I care about most. And knowing that energy is unlimited and it can go anywhere, then when you're doing activities that like you love, like out there, whatever those might be, like your favorite parts of life, if you go into those already like feeling good, not needing those to feel good, but going into them already feeling good, where you can go energetically by just being super present. And like, to me, if I'm doing something that I enjoy, Jen, like the rest of the planet doesn't exist. Like, I just want to put all my energy in this one moment of life because that's how momentum will allow the energy to go places where, yeah, we can call it blissful, but I actually feel better than that. Like, we can actually feel better than the labels that we have to label energy, which is great for all of us to know. And don't beat yourself up out there. Don't be hard on yourself. Like, we're all evolving. Like, if you've made the choice to listen to this podcast or anything out there where the purpose for you listening or reading it or watching it is to just allow your consciousness to evolve, if you're out there doing that, like, you're golden. Like, it's just a forever thing at this point. Don't be hard on yourself because we can never be hard on ourselves and be in the vibe that we like to be who we truly are at the same time. So you're beating yourself up. Just know that that's your choice. I'm not saying you're wrong for it, but you don't have to do that. You can give yourself a little grace, knowing that, none of us we're not finished products. We never will be. This is a forever thing. So, give yourself a little bit of ease. But I love this.
Yeah. It's so true, actually, like what you're saying about beating yourself up and stuff, and how like that is our choice. And I'm like kind of back facing this morning, as I was just talking about before, when I was totally beating myself up. So I was like, oh my god, I may have hurt somebody, I may have offended somebody, even though that was never the intention. and was totally beating myself up. And if you told me in that moment, like, this is your choice to be beating yourself up. Of course, my shadow's gonna come out and be like, fuck you, Noelle. Like, I'm not beating myself. Like, you're beating yourself up.
No, I wouldn't have told you that you were. I would have said, if you are, that you can continue if you want to.
Yeah,
but I just...
yeah. But at the same time, like, I feel like when we have, like, good friends, we're allowed to run. We're allowed to speak. I appreciate it personally if someone says to me, like Flo can definitely say to me, like, you're being a dick to yourself. Like, he'll totally call me out on it. And in the moment, I'll sometimes be like, yeah, but then I just have to, again, do that. Okay, drop down. And sometimes it's really hard to drop down so hard, especially when we're super in our shadows. But when we do, it's like magical again. And like what you're saying, that's when we recognize, it wasn't a choice being up here. It wasn't a choice. Now my choice is to be here. And yeah, it's a choice that is important to make, and we have to make it like so many moments throughout the day. So many. So
the fact that you even care is awesome. This is what I want to like get out to everybody. Like, if you even care about this, you're good. Like, just know that it's a forever part of the journey. Like, it's just the fact that you care is like awesome. That you're aware enough to actually care, because so many of us, like, before we were aware, we weren't. So you didn't even have a choice to even ask yourself, were you beating yourself up? You just did it, and it was just, you had a really rough couple of days, or a couple of weeks, or a rough whole year. Like, I swear there were like whole years of my life where it was just like, I had some good times, but it was so like dependent on external circumstances that, and especially when not knowing like what I was going to do with my life. Like, I went through the whole thing that you described as well, like not knowing what purpose I was going to be here for, thinking that I was going to do something my whole life, and then all of a sudden, in my 20s, I no longer am. Like, that's rough, especially without this awareness. So that's why I just continue to have awesome conversations like this, with you, Jen, because if it helps one person out there have a light bulb come on to where now they're on their journey, now they're on their path, they know who they are, it's so worth it, and it's fun to do. So I'll keep doing it anyways, because it's a conversation I would want to have with you anyways. So this is awesome. Anything you want to share with the audience as far as what you have going on right now, and that you want them to know about?
Yeah, I mean, so I think the thing that I will share is, first of all, if you go to my website, which is jennfriendly.com, I have and you're like, I don't want to pay for shit, and you just want some like nice free stuff, then that's all there for you. And I would love for you to have it. There's a reason it's there and available. And but if you're like, you know what, I'm willing to invest a little bit in myself right now, then I have a program that's like hella cheap. It's a yoga philosophy program. It's 12 weeks. It's the second time I'm running it. It's called Shoes of a Yogi, and it starts on July 20th. And basically, as a collective group, we already have, I think, 6 people signed up for this one. The last time I did, there were 15 of us, and it was so transformative that all of the students in this one convinced me to do a kind of level 2. So I'm launching a level 2 for these guys so that we can continue to deepen their knowledge. But basically, we just move really slowly through these 2 very prominent areas of yoga philosophy over the course of 12 weeks. And I slowly introduce each thing every single week, and really how to integrate each thing both on and off the yoga mat. You don't even have to be practicing yoga. You can even be a yoga teacher if you want to do this. It really doesn't make any sort of difference as long as you want to deepen your knowledge of yoga philosophy as a lifestyle, and do a bit of a kind of meditation challenge, and have a community of people that are coming together that are willing to like learn and invest in themselves, both time, energy, and a little bit of money, to be able to create like a greater lifted consciousness in a way. And just like, you come out of it being like more self-realized, because any sort of self-work that we do on ourselves, we become more self-realized. We become like more in touch with your intuition, your self-love will definitely go up. Your ability to love others will definitely go up. Your ability to just kind of surrender to what is and let go and be non-attached to whatever is happening. Like, this will all help with this so much. And there's a reason why I have this program, and I definitely don't have it to raise, to like make a bunch of money. Actually, right now, it for the first 10 people, so I do have a few slots left, it's $108, and I'm donating 35% to Black Lives Matter Toronto and 35% to Rainbow Railroad, which is based out of Toronto, to support both the Black and LGBT communities. And yeah, so sign up, because not only is it like going to be so helpful for us as individuals, but it's also helping to create like some more abundance and momentum for these communities as well. So yeah,
I love that.
Yeah.
I'll share your whenever you're promoting it. If it comes into my attention, or tag me, or make sure I see it on your thing, I'll share it to people as
cool.
well.
Thank you.
I'm inspired to say that, so just to share it. So I love what you're doing. Regardless if you were donating or not, I love what you're doing. I love everything, how you described it and all of that. So I love it. This is so much fun, Jen, and you've shared some awesome things. And I know I sound different here. I forgot, like, when we got off of Instagram, the sound that the people were hearing on Facebook went away as well. So I unplugged my headphones so that they could hear the sound, because I didn't set my speaker up. This doesn't matter to you, but I know I sound different to you right now because these are not plugged in anymore. So they're just for looks. Yeah. So, but so much fun. I really appreciate this conversation. And the last thing I'll just ask, just knowing that every time that we speak, the little thing on the thing, little alert caught my attention. But just every time that we speak to anybody, like, we're at a different place in life because of all the life experience that we've had until today. And so, like, your vision for what you want to see, in your life and, for humanity is what it is today. So I guess a combined question of like, what's your vision right now as far as like what you want to see, like, overall, like, your life or for humanity, and just anything that wants to come out that you want to share with the audience. Just if they hear this 40 years from now, you're like, I want to make sure that they hear this. If they hear this podcast, you've been doing it the whole time. So anything else that wants to flow out of you, I want to give you open stage.
Yeah, I would say, it is. I have interviewed around like 100 people through both texting, voice notes, and actual interviews when I eventually started a podcast. Which, as a side note, if I continue it, I would love to interview you, Noel.
I'm a fun interview. I'm very fun on the interview. As the guest, I'm
awesome.
very fun.
Cool, good. I should continue it, definitely. And that's a good positive shift. But I would say it's innately all of our purposes to just love and to operate from a place of love and really embody that. And it's really kind of made me sad recently to see, people saying that when we say, like, it's important to love and stuff, that people are accusing of us spiritually bypassing. And I can understand that, depending on the intention behind saying it. Sure, it can be taken as that. But really, truly, when I was asking all of these 100 people, what is your purpose? Everyone, all in different forms, was expressing that it was their purpose to love. So just remember that innately, that is what our greatest intention is. And if we could somehow always operate from a place of love or come back to that, then we can really change the world and make our consciousness rise to such a level of profound support and profound togetherness and oneness. And all we have to do is just bring our attention to, before we ever comment on something, send a message to somebody, have a judgment towards somebody, what would one of my mentors, Cairo, he says, what would love do? So before we send that message, before we say that thing, before we order that coffee, what would love do? How would love order the coffee? How would love present themselves right now? How would love talk to this person? And just bring my biggest just like vision is that we can imagine if we were all like in every action that we did, what would love do?
Such a beautiful message. Can you?
Mic drop.
Such a beautiful message. You can hear me right now, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. I just plugged these back in and did all this stuff. Because you were inspiring me so much, I was like, I want this to be good audio quality as I share the inspirations that Jenn just sparked. But for all of us, like, first of all, rewind and listen to what Jenn just said. If you were not present, like if you were up, doing anything as this podcast episode is out, like rewind and listen to that, because it's so important. Like whenever we start talking about like purpose and people are thinking that it has to be like this like profound thing and that they're required to do all this stuff. It's really not true. Like, you're going to do all this stuff that you want to do from the place of being who you truly are, which is love. That's who we are, who we all were when we came here. Unconditional loving little babies. If you need a reminder, just get around the youngins, like where that's all they're doing. Like they're just looking around, they're present, they're just playful. Like that's who all of us truly are. And so as we choose to be that in the moment, because again, that can only be in the moment, that's who all of us truly are, then from those moments you're not condemning or judging. Like you're coming together with people, you're helping people, you're deciding what you want to see for humanity and in your own life. And that's from the space that you can create it all. And I'm just rooting for everybody to be reminded of that, which you just did so beautifully. And through things like this and through so many different ways out there, and as we can all come together and help each other, I'm just excited for everything that's evolving, and so excited now that I know you exist, Jenn, because this has been a really fun and uplifting conversation for me and for everybody that is tuned in. If you guys are watching this on Facebook, I can't see you guys right now, but share this, hit the share button, or anywhere else that you can hit a share button, do it, because just that little act of paying it forward, like if you received any inspiration, can help someone and uplift their consciousness. And it's beautiful that it's so easy for us to be able to touch each other and remind each other of who all of us truly are. So I love it.
Totally.
You're awesome.
This has been so much fun. This has been so much fun. Thank you.
Yeah, I knew we would vibe, and it's so much fun. Open invitation for Flo if he wants to come flow with me. You told me he's a coach, so I'll discover his connect me with his Instagram somehow, and I'll send him a voice note and formally invite him, or you can just tell him that he's invited if he wants to come play with me on a podcast. I was kind of playfully talking to the guys out there, because people will accuse me, they're like, Noel, you only talk to girls. And I'm like, that's not true. I talk to guys as well. And if I showed you the amount of guys that have either seen my invites and replied and then just didn't get on the calendar for whatever reason, the ladies, you guys just are following through much quicker and it just is what it is. And there's a lot of you guys out there that are, in tune with who you are and wanting to share. So I'm on Instagram and all the social medias, and I just see more ladies out there, doing all this helping work right now. And for guys out there, open invitation to vibe with me. If you're uplifting and like your intention is to help and uplift people, we'll have a fun conversation. So, yes.
Yeah. I actually have Flo and one of my teachers. I can always find out if they would be interested. I definitely think they would be, for sure.
Either way,
so
I joke with.
Then you'll have two men.
I joke with when I said that, and I went to sleep last night, and I had two guys scheduled with me. I don't know if they saw that, because I was joking about it in the ocean yesterday, and I was like, side note, guys out there, because people keep saying, Noel, you're only talking to like girls, and I'm like, well, they were the ones that want to talk to me, so I'll talk to anyone that wants to talk to me. So it's all good.
I hear that. Yeah, I think. I think it's even just like in the coaching realm and the yoga realm and this sort of thing. There tends to be more women in that are like diving into into spirituality. Maybe you could even, I mean, there's a lot of Indian men out there, if they can connect their Wi-Fi in a way that is like good enough to have a Zoom call.
I've talked to a few. I've talked to a few Indian guys and gals. We make it work. Yeah, I've talked to all sorts of people.
Yeah.
People just have to dig a little deeper when they're accusing me of only talking to ladies.
Yeah, come on.
I've talked to everyone.
Stop.
It's just all playful for me. It really doesn't matter. I want to talk to whoever wants to talk to me. That's how I feel. So it's all good. Well, thank you so much, Jen. This has been so much fun, and so happy to know that you exist on this planet now and that you're flowing the way that you're flowing, and just excited for everybody out there. Definitely share this episode when it's out on iTunes and Spotify and all these places. Thank you guys that have been reviewing the podcast. Again, making it easier for people to find. You guys can leave a review and say that Jen Human was awesome. I had this awareness and this awareness, and I'll make sure that she sees that. That always feels good when you know that you've uplifted someone, and just sending you guys so much love, and just excited to see where we're all going together here in 2020 and beyond. And let's all enjoy life and not beat ourselves up, not be so hard on ourselves. Just get back to the moment. And if you're doing anything right now where it's like enjoyable, like give yourself like permission to do that even more. Like just be fully there and like enjoy it. Like that's the only moment promised to any of us. And I give you don't need it from me, but I give you full permission to enjoy yourself. You should not be doing anything else. Like I'll use should in that way. Like do what you're doing. If you're presently enjoying something, no matter what you're doing, do more of it. So I love it. We'll talk to you guys soon. Thank you so much, Jen. You're awesome. I'm gonna stop the stream and I'm gonna say bye to you officially. We've been talking for a minute. I'm getting into you'll be done with your Friday soon.
I know. I'm like, oh, no, it's good.